do have a special show here. We've got Doyle and Tom with us. We have Andrew Wiebe, who will both pop in and pop out at some point during this show, which is as good a cliffhanger as I could possibly give someone to stick around and hang out. And I'm happy to be here with you two. Like, what a great weekend. I got some feedback at the end of last week from some listeners. They told me they don't like the part where we talk about basketball in the show. A huge weekend for them because 50% of the teams we root for are now eliminated and we no longer have to spend time talking about it. So congratulations to all of you who hate.
I'm not talking about basketball, so go ahead, Tom.
Listen, it's okay. You're right. There's more basketball to be played for us, so more basketball to watch, and we can just leave it at that.
Nice. Big game tonight. Big series coming up. And maybe we'll hit it at some point. I think Thursday might have the potential for a big goon episode of me and Tom just being like, yeah. In either direction, by the way. I fully am open to the idea that we could be miserable, and we also will be probably doing the same thing and trying to bully around Joel Embiid on the internet. But we got a lot to talk about in this episode. Big comebacks
about soccer?
Across Major League Soccer. Yes.
Okay.
We're going to talk about soccer. Big comebacks across the league. 3-goal deficits, 2-goal deficits. Some big performances from some rising young players, as well as Concacaf champions. We have a second leg of the semifinals coming up this week. So Tuesday and Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, both Nashville and LAFC will head down to Mexico to try and make it to a CONCACAF final. For Nashville, it'd be the first time. For LAFC, they've been here before, but not exactly in this setting. So we're going to talk all about that. And as we do every Monday, we will touch on some of the big storylines around the USMNT national team as we head towards the World Cup. We have the best things we saw that we like to kick off every show with. And for me, it's personal this week because I went USL League One this weekend. I drove out to Naples, Florida to go see FC Naples against Knoxville. And boy, did I have a time. Unbelievable vibes. It is in a sports complex 30 minutes from downtown Naples, next to a Great Wolf Lodge, surrounded by palm trees with a multicolored turf field. And it was electric. I got a hot dog. I drank an IPA. It rained. So in the middle of the game, it rained, and there's a covering for the fancy seats, and everyone just walked in. That no one stopped you. You just were like, yep, we're all in this part now without paying for it, which was great. And Knoxville went and smacked them around. 3-0, top of the table now, coming off a U.S. Open Cup week, coming off a Pricks Tire penalty kick shootout victory over Tulsa last weekend. The games stack up, and yet Ian's boys keep rolling forward.
Gosh, there's luxury seating options at USL League One.
Yeah, there is. I mean, it's like midfield, and they actually had these really cool cushions that pull up that you sit in. Like if you think about, those things you have that like clip on the side so that they're more comfortable to sit on the ground with. Yeah. And I actually was a huge fan of them. I would buy one of those.
It's Florida, so I assume it's all like seating for the elderly. That's what you mean by luxury seating.
Potentially. There's a guy walking around near us who was wearing salmon pink shorts and a green T-shirt that just had dolphins on the front. And he was
so you did see Nico Cantor.
He was probably in his 60s, and Megan just kept being like, he's so Florida. It's amazing. She's like, does he own the team? I'm like, no, he's just talking to everyone because he's a Florida guy. He just talks to everyone who works here. It was amazing. But I will say, I've been to Next Pro stuff. I've been to some really sad MLS atmospheres. It was what you wanted. It was like a little quirky and campy, and that's the point. Be fun. Supporters group on the drums the whole time. It was also Cinco de Mayo celebration a few days early. The mariachi band that was playing at the entrance went and stood next to the goal and just played the whole first half. Like at the boards. Not even like, oh, we're out back. Like they were on the field just playing, and it was sick. So, yeah.
Like the Revs Minutemen, were they like really putting it up when a goal happened?
No, because they lost 3-0, so they couldn't. So they were constantly trying to get the vibes high. But there's a beer garden at midfield on the far side. Like, what else could you want?
Is this a stadium complex that it was not built for FC Naples?
No.
It is. Yeah,
I think it's like a community thing. Sports.
Yeah.
But it fits where it's like, high school football style stands on one side with a little bit of a roof that looks out, and then there's like hill around the other side of the field. So they throw a giant jersey on one of the hills. So it just looks like a person standing behind one of the goals. And then there's like a million fields around it and other stuff. But like, is the point of what you want it to be? I don't know. I'd say there was 3,000+ people there.
Nice.
Obviously, top of the table clash. Maybe I'm making that number up and I'm completely off, but it didn't feel empty in any part of it. And I'm all in. So
Well, you get
I'm
like
obviously one
food
Knox
trucks, the beer options, and okay.
local brewery that makes 2 FC Naples beers. Venezuelan food truck, Argentine food truck, barbecue, got a side of mac and cheese at a game. You kidding me? For this price? In this economy? Come on.
Guys, you're 30 seconds away from getting a fake promise from Doyle saying, I'm going to go check that out. And there's no shot that he goes down.
So I don't really ever want to go to that part of Florida because
You are completely correct.
It just gets smashed by a hurricane every single year. So I'm like, I don't need to go over there. Plus, like,
it's a weather thing.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Everything about Florida's a weather thing now. They can't get insurance on their homes down there because of the weather.
It rained yesterday, so they put sandbags out in the lobby of my building, which was built 3 years ago. That is unprepared for rain in Miami. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just like, got that one. Got it covered.
The other thing is, like, I don't
good.
like being in any ecosystem where I'm not at the top of the food chain. And so I just don't want to be around alligators if I don't have to. So. It's a safety thing.
You live near West Point now. I don't think that you're the top of the food chain right now.
Whoa.
I mean, it's a fair point. I live right at the bottom of Bear Mountain. So,
I was going to say,
I'm not going up there. I'm not going up there. Absolutely not.
On the drive back through the Everglades, we listened to a nature podcast about the uprise in bear attacks in Japan. Mm-hmm. So
they had to call in the army. They literally had to call in the army to fight brown bears in Hokkaido.
But because of the pacifist constitution, the army is not allowed to shoot animals.
Correct.
So the army doesn't actually do anything.
What do? They go,
just
hey, bear.
track and monitor. Yeah, pretty much. They're just like helping out. And then they have to hire local hunters who have to go through a process to be allowed to shoot. And then they practice it in a session where someone dresses up as a bear and goes down on the river and acts
You
like
really,
a bear.
you really drew the short straw for that one. If you're the guy who has to dress up as the bear.
And I listened to an interview with the head of the New York Times office there, the New York Times bureau there, who described it and said, quote, he was quite convincing as his bear characteristics. So that's top-level journalism, Tom. That's the stuff you like to work on.
Paper record.
I want to do the
there.
rest of the show on that and that alone. Wiebe, get ready
You guys,
for bear conversation.
It was called Chris Something the Wild. Great show. Go listen to it. You'd be shocked to know it comes out of Seattle and is sponsored by the Port of Seattle, which who would have thought the one wild nature podcast that we could find would be that. But yeah, bear attacks are up. Florida Panthers are coming back, though, so we're stoked about that because we love a Florida Panther. And you're supposed to drive slower when you're...
The hockey team?
Yeah, well, that's what they're named after. Also, by the way, on the drive out, I was on a one-lane road, and so you got to do the pass in the other lane because obviously I'm not going the speeds these people are going. Get out of my way. And then on the way back, it was a two-lane road, and so I'm just cruising. But the amount of drivers who don't know what they're doing, insane. That's probably the reason Doyle doesn't want to go down. What's up, Wiebe?
I feel like I walked in on something at 2.5 speed. It's like, I woke up from a nap to a podcast at like 3. Just whoa! I don't have enough caffeine for this. What's up, boys? How are you? Sounds like somebody had a good weekend in Florida.
Yeah, Naples, baby.
I'm not going to tell Mindy about the Bears. That means we'll never return to Florida. But
Naples is the Midwest portion of Florida. So East Coast is East Coast. And then Panhandle is like Mississippi people in Alabama.
Yeah, listen, we did Panhandle. We did 30A for spring break.
But you're more a Naples person. There are multiple Culvers in the Naples area. Because of all the Midwest.
I introduced Mindy to Culvers this week. She hit me with she's like, it's just all right. And, we didn't talk for 2 days. So
the cheese curds hit. They're just mozzarella sticks, but they hit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. My other thing that I enjoyed this weekend, besides FC Naples getting stuffed, but watching it in person, shout out to One Knoxville, top of the table now, was the return of Brandon Vazquez and Owen Wolff. Two of the best, I think, personalities in the North American soccer sphere. And obviously, for Brandon Vazquez, just brutal. His first appearance since July of 2026. For Owen Wolff, 2025. For Owen, his first since November of 2025. So both of them came back. It was a home victory. Christian Ramirez, 1 goal, 1 assist. He's got 3 goals in the 10 appearances so far for Austin. Ozuni gets a goal. It turns out if you just keep working the ball to his foot, everything happens. Ozuni's just waiting on the edge of the box there, like, play my feet, just play my feet, just play my feet. And it's like, okay, or you could move too and try and get involved. But when it comes to his feet, he scores. But awesome to see those two back on the field. Jaden Nelson went down injured in
warm-ups.
Yeah, in warm-ups. So,
oh my gosh, after leaving early last week after scoring.
So the hits keep coming there. And I don't know what Vazquez will look like anytime soon, coming off an injury like that and having to work his way back. But Owen Wolff's a huge add to this team. And I don't know, two guys that I like watching play soccer, so it's good to see them come back. And congrats to Austin for getting a victory.
I mean, listen, there are weak points in this roster. We've talked about it. Doyle, you and I don't have to revisit our conversation from last week. I will give Austin credit for signing Christian Ramirez, knowing that he was the piece that they needed, like, in the meantime. Like, you needed an in the meantime piece. They didn't have that last year. And Ozuni just is not a 9. Like, he is not a lone 9. You are not going to succeed with him that way. He is not going to succeed. And so then you're just bleeding money for no reason. So playing with him, another guy up top who's willing to run, who's unselfish, who fills space and lets him, I mean, to your point, Dave, like, just sort of be a, like, space finding poacher, not necessarily the most insanely active guy on the ball, but insanely active off the ball, especially on defensively. I mean, listen, you got to find a way to put your players in their best possible positions. And I'm not going to say winning against St. Louis is some gold star activity right now.
Would you call it a bonus game?
I mean, by the traditional definition, it's close. If it was an Eastern Conference team, it would 1 million be a bonus game if it was an Eastern Conference team. Western Conference, we'll say on the brink.
Let's say that I'm happy that Austin got some of their watchable players back. I am happy that Christian Ramirez got a goal and assist because he's always been an aesthetically pleasing center forward to me. And it remains wild that he's not making, like, his 300th appearance for Minnesota United at some point this year. I can still not understand for the life of me why they just gave this man away, who's a professional goal scorer. And, like, everybody, even if you're not going to start him more than 15 times a year, everybody needs a guy like this on their roster. Good job, Austin, picking him up. This game was about Brad Stuver, who continues to be one of the half dozen best goalkeepers, shot stoppers in MLS. And it was about St. Louis's attack, just not putting away the types of chances.
Simon Betcher, miss of the year?
Yeah, tough.
I mean,
tough.
I feel bad for him, but also Marcel Hartel, like got it bouncing and a little bit hot and pulled him away from goal with all of it. It was clown shoes. You know, it was Benny Hill theme stuff. And it's now been 3 months of me writing about Yohan Demé. Like, I like the way his team plays. I question his personnel choices. And now we have to tease apart at some point whether the only reason they can play what I think is actually pretty good soccer is because of these players he's putting out there who unfortunately can't turn pretty good soccer into actual goals and assists, right? Like maybe like having Hartel and Betcher is intrinsic to actually holding the ball and, like, creating these types of breakouts where, you know, they can basically walk the ball in the net. And it's just, if you play other guys, you're not going to do that. You're going to play worse soccer, and then you're not going to have the opportunities to blow in the first place. I don't know.
Yeah, because the thing I would say with this group is that it's not like they have these other entities on the bench where you're like, this guy's a cold-blooded goal scorer but just can't connect passes. There's just no other options to a lot of this.
So I disagree with that. And we're
doing a Mickey Joyner conversation now? Sorry.
Mickey Joyner and Brendan McSorley. Literally put Sergio Cordova, who's a DP, at the number 9. Freaking start Mamadou
But they have
Fall
played
up
Sergio
top.
Cordova.
The exact right reaction to all of this from Tom. But let's just read those. Let's just read that back. Like, what are we talking about?
And we're talking about giving Simon Betcher and Marcel Hartel starts every single game when they cannot shoot the ball at the net.
So Sergio Cordova has started 3 of the last
historically
5 games
Sergio Cordova is
shown up late and sucks.
a guaranteed guy. Yeah.
And I would say this. Set the table of the soccer you want to play for when the players come in that you want, because this is not all the players you want. And Edward Leuven coming back for his first start, obviously that has put them behind the 8 ball on the field, and that's something that they're trying to work with. But I get your point, though, of like there could be more results in there potentially. I don't know that there's a lot more in there with Brendan McSorley, but top 10 name in MLS.
I mean, to me, it just goes back to like the build. You're talking about, it goes back to the build. We're not talking about, you're talking about like Hail Marys. All of it being Hail Marys, right? Like you're not talking about, hey, play that guy. How could you not? How could you not play Sergio Cordova?
So I don't think that's correct. I don't think there have been Hail Marys here. I think there have been 3-yard.
No, I'm saying runs. They are Hail Marys. I'm saying the players you're asking to score goals, you're asking for a Hail Mary. Yeah. You're not. That's not a guy that you say is going to come in and it's like, hey, flip the switch.
Yeah,
there's nothing to say the results will be any different or better.
No, but at least you want to take a look at it at some point. Like at this point,
sure.
we have enough data that Yohan Demay has a pretty good system, and we have enough data that says Simon Betcher's probably not a starter in it. But we also
for sure.
We've also seen that Simon Betcher could actually be a useful piece coming off the bench. Yeah. So let's flip it up and see that.
Yeah.
I like this team is just very incomplete. Even going, I know we're talking about the attacking issues, but Mamadou Fall and Fallou Fall have played, 45 to 60 minutes combined between the two of them. Those are two pillars that they will be building around in the defense. You said it about Leuven. He started for the first time in this match. They didn't bring in a real DP forward yet. Like Sergio Cordova is a DP forward in name just because it saves you allocation money when they signed him. As long as ownership gives Corey Ray in the front office a chance to make a couple serious signings, then I think they will be quite good. I don't know exactly how long it's going to take because this roster was in a very bad spot, not just in terms of personnel, but also it was a different style and different profiles to what Yohan Demay wants to play. So not only were those players underperforming and probably bad value, they're not natural in this system. So it's going to take a while to overturn this roster, and ownership didn't have a ton of interest in doing so in the winter because, I don't think I'm breaking news here. Sergio Cordova is not at the top of anybody's list when you're trying to sign a DP center forward or a high-level center forward. I understand the disappointments with Simon Betcher. I don't necessarily blame him. I don't think that Yohan Demay or this team are planning to start him. He started all 10 games, and I think that he's been fine other than the worries in front of goals, which is obviously the biggest point of why he'd be on the field. He is clearly a good squad player for this team that is in a role that is above him. And they don't have what other options? I
would also say my assumption would be the Open Cup on Wednesday was the better team, and Betcher did not start in that one, and Cordova did. I will finish St. Louis on this because we got deep into the St. Louis side, which I love.
Didn't expect that.
Me and Michele waxed poetic on Thursday of if you're St. Louis, you get a chance to host an Open Cup quarterfinal and semifinal. One of the cities that's most associated to this competition. You've never hosted games that big before, blah, 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 all of this. All the response I got from St. Louis fans was, I wish the front office knew that. Yeah. Apparently they've been treating Open Cup like next pro games, no promotion, not helping get people in the building. They cannot host the final, but they could host the semi. And as we talked about on Thursday, that would be in September, where you don't know what your life looks like in September, but odds are you're in a pretty bad spot if you're St. Louis based off the start of this season. So the entire focus should be on packing the building for the quarterfinal, getting the result in the quarterfinal, and setting yourself up to host that semifinal. And that should be everything the club does. And if they don't know that in the building, then that is a huge miss. And that would be really unfortunate if we saw a quarter empty building for one of the biggest games the club's ever hosted, which was pure luck of the draw that you get the opportunity to host.
If you are not a Leagues Cup team and you are in the position that St. Louis is in, where you have a chance in the Open Cup and you have a chance to claw back points post window, while all of the teams that should be above you in the table are trying to balance Leagues Cup, if you don't take advantage of that, you had no chance of taking advantage of anything this year.
Yeah.
None.
One point I want to make, or I guess 2 points I want to make here. First is that we all knew this was going to be a multi-window rebuild for St. Louis, and I actually think that it's gone okay at the start. I'm just frustrated at seeing the same players falling short in the same way when you have younger options off the, please do that. That's one. And two is it could end up being quick. Cordova is only here through June. I mean, I wouldn't be entirely shocked if they declined to extend that. And then Cedric Teutschert, his option, or his contract for some reason only runs until the middle of the year as well. So that is some money coming off the books. Like, they have a chance to add some big pieces this summer, and I hope they do. Because like, they are playing good soccer, and I would like to see players on the team who can turn that into at least semi-competent winning soccer instead of 29th place in the Shield standings.
Cedric Toysher got the Carlos Vela treatment. Some good work by his agent.
Well, I think
That's
front
some good
office
work.
front office may have eyes down the road, thinking if Aberdeen needs a midfielder to start the next season, could we line this up so that he's a potentially free agent when you get there? And that would be a huge upgrade for Aberdeen, who are one of the most ambitious clubs in all of.
By the way, McSorley from Randolph in Morris County. So surprised that Tom's not more.
Tom's pretty high
that.
on McSorley just because of the name, I think.
Yeah.
So he didn't even need extra juice, but I appreciate you helping him get there. Okay, let's move to the next best thing we saw, or not the next best thing, but the one that we're going to do next, which is Tommy Scoops.
It's funny that we didn't lead the show with this, and I think it's perfect that we didn't, because we just spent a long time talking about Bears and Naples and St. Louis and Austin. Orlando City down 3-0 in Miami, comes back and beats Inter Miami 4-3. What an insane game. So I want to backtrack here. This is the fourth game for Inter Miami at New Stadium. The first goal at New Stadium belongs to Austin FC's Guillermo Biru. The first hat trick belongs to Orlando City's Martin Ojeda. The first win belongs to Orlando City. And now the first in the record book for Miami, the first loss at this stadium is Inter Miami. I don't even know what to make other than just sit back, and this was crazy. This was truly, in the second half, derogatory tactics-free zone by Miami, because it genuinely embarrassing. This is an Orlando team that is still on pace to be the worst defensive team in the history of the league. There is going to be some regression to the mean. They're going to end up as a very, very bad defensive team, I think, at the end of the year, but they're still on pace to be historically bad. They're up 3-0, and somehow it was like the first goal went in for Martin Ojeda, and it was like a consolation in the moment. But I was like, man, like, there's going to be enough chances for Orlando going forward that, hey, maybe they're going to make a game of this. When Ojeda scored the second goal, I was convinced that they were getting this result. And that's a huge detriment to all of what Miami is right now, and everything this coaching staff is not.
So the first goal, I think it was very clutch that it came so close to the third goal they conceded, where it was like, they're down 3-0, this game's over, but it was only like a minute and a half later where Ojeda scores, and you're like, okay, it's a 2-goal game, it's alive. The second goal comes out of literally nowhere. It's like 20 minutes of the second half, Orlando is not in the attacking box a single time. Orlando is not in possession. They are not dangerous. And it is just, if you get 4 chances and you put them on goal, there's a pretty good opportunity you're going to score 4 times. It was abysmal from Miami, and it wasn't even with the, like, it didn't feel like they played it with the comprehension of like, yeah, we're not going to keep this, so let's go score the 5th. They just kind of like hung out in the attacking third and knocked it around and saw, okay, what's out there? Like, let's have fun. Let's like enjoy the game a little bit. And every single pass going the other way is dangerous, including a through ball from 95 yards from goal that lands on Tyree Spicer, who probably shouldn't be playing in MLS, and then he ends up scoring that goal. Like, that's
I will not stand for that. I will not stand for that.
That's too far. But like, so
I'm sorry, Tyree Spicer would.
No, but there's the other first game winner, Tyree Spicer. I will say that's a lot.
Listen, what Martin Perlman, I thought that was a smart sub, because it was very clear. Anytime that Miami turns the ball over, doesn't need to be a quick transition. You can take your time to make a run and pick out a pass. Anytime you get the ball back, it's a free pass forward. Yeah. I don't know how many times did Orlando City get in behind. When it was 3-3, I think it was the third breakaway that they needed to make it 4-3. This team is in disarray. So there's not much. There is not much that has changed under Guillermo Hoyos as interim head coach. And to be fair to him, he hasn't showed any impetus to do so. Like, they'll play with an extra natural defender. So like, it'll be Ian Frey and Noah Allen as wingbacks rather than say Tadeo Allende or Matteo Savetti or any other combination. So that is one change. And 2 is Luis Suarez is playing more of a role. And I think Luis Suarez is what we know. He's going to be good in attack and non-existent in defense. It's not a shock that Hoyos isn't doing much tactically. He himself has said he is, quote, merely a guide for, quote, the best coach in the world on the field, Lionel Messi. Well, Lionel Messi can't make subs. Hoyos apparently decided not to either. They only made 2 changes, and in the last 20 minutes, they made none. And in those last 20 minutes, it was clear to anybody with eyes that that Orlando was the better team, and they did nothing to change it. Nothing to change it when Orlando went in behind again and again and again until Spicer scored the game-winning goal.
Huge shout out to Justin Ellis, who's from the Miami area, was in the Inter Miami Academy, and then moved to Orlando, who got the start at center forward and helped set up. Was it the second goal or the first goal where he laid it off for Martin Ojeda, helped fill space? I mean, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. For all Duncan McGuire's struggles, like Martin Ojeda needs a center forward to play off of. Yeah. His name's Antoine Griezmann, so we will get there, and it's not like this emergency they can fill, but it's awesome to see that they've dipped into an academy that they've built out very well. And I believe Justin Ellis was part of a time period where they had brought in an academy director from Miami and started to pick off talent from around Florida and like expand their presence a little bit. And he's looked really comfortable in the games he's played, and he's been a big presence. So a really cool moment for him.
That's Alex Freeman too, is it not?
I don't know where Alex Freeman
Fort Lauderdale. Exactly. I'm Fort Lauderdale. Okay. He's from. I mean, he's in that area. The winner in all of this for Miami is Javier Mascherano. I mean, he's the to me, he's the guy that saw the writing on the wall and was like, I can't do this. Like, I don't want, and there's a combination of a lot of different opinions that went into that, but like, to me, he's the winner. He won the trophy. He got out before it got really bad, and it could get worse. Yeah. Like, it could get worse.
If it does, you won't hear about it because Guillermo Hoyos, one question in the post-game press conference, and then he said, "Thank you, everyone," and he walked off the stage. My understanding was he had to go get his hair highlighted right after, so he had to get out of there fast. There's a lot going wrong for Inter Miami. That's at the top of the list. I know the conversations over and over. Noah Allen and Ian Frey were like the only 2 people who spoke post-game, so all the pressure falls on them to like be responsible for this.
They're still trying to go to Drake Callender. I mean, they're still trying to go to Drake Callender after these games. What's Drake got to say?
And there's a lot of pressure on like a Dane St. Clair, but there's a lot wrong in Inter Miami, and I have to say, didn't see it coming. I thought the offseason they had nailed. I thought they improved heavily. Now, I thought Max, he's playing Falcone style now, so I'm calling him Falcone.
He was terrible. Oh, my God, he was terrible.
Yeah, and I thought he was last year, and that wasn't a thing they fully replaced, although they could just not start him. That's also an option. But a lot going wrong for this team. And for Orlando, by the way, on the flip side, like Martin Ojeda, awesome last year, and we have to give him his flowers for this one. Uber efficient in the chances he gets. Dangerous anytime he's around the final third. Maybe not the pure chance creator that you play through like some other 10s that we've seen in the past, but 16 goals, 9 assists last year, and a freaking hat trick against your rival to come back from 3-0 down is pretty cool.
Doyle, what do you think the best combination of the Orlando City attack, and I guess midfield to a greater extent, when Griezmann arrives? Because you guys, and I agree, that Martin Ojeda looks best with a 9 ahead of him. I would probably say the same about Griezmann at the stage of his career. Like, yes, he can do that role, but like I'd rather him be playing free underneath another center forward, and that's kind of where Martin Ojeda is great too.
Yeah, if you think about the way that Griezmann's been at his best, both for France and Atleti, is like he's always been playing off of Giroud, or sometimes like together in kind of similar roles, but mirrored with Mbappe, or with Atleti. It's been a succession of 9 through 9.5.
Costa, Villas.
And right now, Julian Alvarez and him are playing as a 4-4-2, and it's usually Alvarez at his occupying.
Right, and it's almost always
Griezmann will go forward and like occupy, but like he's best when he's in the little half space.
So my thing with all of this is they're gonna sell Martin Ojeda, right? I think they'll get an offer for $9 or $10 million from a Brazilian team this summer, and Ojeda is really, really good, and I'd like to keep him. But if you can make a profit, and then the new CSO goes and gets his own new younger centerpiece who maybe fits a little bit better with Griezmann, isn't that the answer to get a guy who gives you a little more pitch control in central midfield rather than pure goals?
I mean, I guess, but like I'm just surprised how quickly that you're like, oh no, they'll sell Ojeda. because I'd like to see at least half a season of Ojeda and Griezmann together. Like Ojeda was.
I don't
on
think
the
they
cusp,
fit, Tom. I don't think they fit.
I agree that it's not perfect, but I feel I would like to try other solutions before this, because like I think the offers could be there in the winter for Martino Ojeda. And plus, like he's been such an integral part of this team for so long, it would just, I don't know, it'd feel hollow if it's like, all right, cool, Griezmann's here, get out.
Yeah, but like that's the business, right? And I don't think that there's a lot of South Americans who are crying when they get sold to a Brazilian team that increases their salary by 50%, even if there is a 30% chance that that's not actually going to get paid. Don't sell them to Botafogo. Don't sell them to Botafogo. But like I like the ambition of the Griezmann signing when it happens. The lesson we should all be taking from Miami is that fit matters. It's not just talent. And I don't see the fit with Griezmann with this team as currently constructed. And the team is currently constructed, of course, is not good enough to be like, well, no, we can't take Antoine Griezmann.
You're not even a playoff
you don't
team.
fit. It's like, yeah, you're one of the worst teams in the league. So you say, okay, let's get Griezmann here. We'll have a month to see if it works with Ojeda, and then at the end of that month, then maybe we'll do a little business.
Can I just say, Ricardo signed him in January, by the way, to a long-term contract.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I can't sell him, but it's not like he's not the choice of the current sporting technical director. Like,
I mean, isn't that what you would do right before you want to get max value for a guy? Is you sign him to a long-term deal?
Sure. Sure.
I think that there's the more upside in like, if you're attacking in a shape that's 3-4-2-1 and Angulo's one wing back, that doesn't fit Pasalic perfectly as like the other side. So maybe there's, that fits Griffin Dorsey really well. And then you have, build the team around Griffin Dorsey is what we're all love to aiming. Just take out like little half sentences and be like, nope, that is the only thing he said and that's it. And that's 100 yards of what he meant. Having let's say it's a DP9, Ojeda and Griezmann underneath, and then you have it. The width comes from Dorsey and Angulo, and then Ojeda and Griezmann both get to play in the half spaces. I think that is a higher upside than anything.
So
else.
You're dropping Pasalic in that setting.
I'm kind of reluctant to do so, but like Doyle said, like fit is really important.
So,
I think I'd rather that.
So here's my thing, which is you're not a ball dominant team right now, so just have two of the best attackers up top playing off each other in Griezmann and Ojeda and accept that for the rest of the season. And then if you're right, then in the winter, maybe it's not as much money as it would be if he comes in scoring a bunch of goals at his peak in the summer. But, and then if him and Griezmann struggle together, it looks different. Also, I don't know how much some of these teams are watching. The money Facundo Torres got, the money Alan Velasco got, it might just be there, and it is what it is, and that's Ricardo Ramirez.
They're just begging, call Martino Ojeda up for one camp. Just please, God, call him up for one camp. That's
against
all we
Guatemala in a non-FIFA window 2 weeks after the World Cup.
You don't even need that. You don't even need that. Lucho wasn't getting called into camps.
That's true.
Yeah.
They'll go for it.
Okay, let's move on here to Doyle's best thing, and I do have to pull this out of the chat, which is WST Pitchbot said, "What environment is Doyle ever top of the food chain?" Which is a great line.
Westchester, okay?
Speaking of Bears.
Yeah, the best thing I saw, I'm going to go off the field for this one, www.soccerdatavisor.com. That's from the gang at stlouissoccernews.com and Chat City Tactics. These guys put together this awesome soccer data viz website. If you want to go deeper on the game, if you want to understand how the data that is collected actually kind of works together, give you a bigger picture of individual players or how a match played out or how a team style fits with the personnel they have. This is something they did for fun, and it's a super useful tool. I used it this weekend. It's the first time it's been available. This
is sick. This is sick.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It reminds me of the stuff that we used to have at MLSsoccer.com until that all changed. So it's nice to see some people in their spare time putting together stuff that actually helps the entire, I think, MLS soccer community. So soccerdatavisor.com, VIZER.com. That's it. Quick shout out.
And St. Louis, I think I follow all these accounts already. It's one of the markets where it's like, it feels like 500 people are covering that team. There's not a lot to cover.
And they all agree with me that maybe Yohan Demay should try some different personnel in that 11.
If there is a plane that flies over a stadium with a sign behind it that says "Start Brendan McSorley," I will give you.
I think we're gonna know exactly who that is. Yeah,
I will give you everything I own for that. But yeah, really cool thing that they set up. So go check it out. It's out on Blue Sky. You can follow them, STL Soccer News as well, Chat City Tactics. Both of them pretty active on Blue Sky, and good way to follow the team. Good conversation about soccer. And as I said, one of the markets that it feels like a lot of people are passionate about their team. Hence why I was hopeful from the outside that they might be able to fill an Open Cup stadium and try and win a big game. All right, Wiebe. We didn't get to welcome you in at the top of the show, so thanks for popping in and being here. And you can talk a little bit. I don't know what you're going to talk about.
Yeah. I didn't put anything in the doc, which is would have been a sin against God when I was running that doc. But I'm going to go with the CCC teams, who just it's not always pretty right now for Nashville and LAFC, but they just continue to put results together in a way that we generally don't see with teams that go this far in this competition. Vancouver, I think, stilted our perception of what is possible when it comes to balancing MLS and CCC. And I know Marc Dos Santos and I'm sure BJ Callahan feel like they probably should have 4 or 5 more points each. And certainly Mark feels like the schedule should shift a little bit to help his team out in this moment, but it's not going to. I was at the San Diego LAFC game this weekend, and it was one of those deals where it was not surprising to me what the flow of the game was when you looked at the lineups and the amount of sort of miles on each team's legs. Like that LAFC would come out and through the first half, it's kind of like, oh, this ain't pretty. Like this isn't it. Like there's too many misshaped pieces, too many things just aren't working for them. Inability to sort of string together 2 or 3 passes under pressure. And I thought San Diego had a good game plan and did it. But the talent deficit is very real. It is very real. And the moment that LAFC decided we're going to hit that bench and we're going to throw 3 big dogs at you, how are you going to handle it? San Diego, they didn't have an answer. And that's not all San Diego's fault. It's not all Marky Veras' fault. It's not all Tyler Heaps' fault at all. Like just the fact that Jeppe Tverskov is not in the team. I mean, that is arguably their most important player. That is, if not in name, in importance, a designated player of the highest order. To me, it's him and Dreyer, and then everybody else is sort of down the heap. But once those guys came on, it completely changed, and it just felt inevitable that they were going to get that game-tying goal. And now you look forward. They both have an opportunity here to sort of spoil the party for Liga MX, which has been a long-running fiesta that we've never been able to break through on. And I talked to Marc Dos Santos before the game, and I asked him, like, how are you thinking about Toluca? Because the physical load of just going to Toluca, let alone all the games leading up to it, the 2 months that they've had to sort of soldier through is immense, and most teams have no chance of succeeding in it. And he told me about 2004, being at Porto and being an intern, and that Manchester United Champions League tie. And he said, I remember being in the club and everybody said, how are we going to do this? It's going to take a magical night. And he said, listen, it's going to take a magical night for us. But I think it's a credit to both these clubs that they have groups where a magical night is possible. And not just that, to where Nashville is first in the East and LAFC is third in the West, and they have every opportunity of both going after it in CONCACAF, but also going after it in Major League Soccer. And so I'd just say credit to both those clubs. It wasn't what they wanted on the weekend. It wasn't beautiful, but this point of the season demands something a little different if you're going to balance 2 things like this.
Wiebe, did you ask Marc Dos Santos if he was aware that Toluca had a playoff game this weekend? And
I did not ask him that, but that's fair. Yeah,
than an away trip in
that's
early
fair.
May from LA to San Diego.
Hey,
certainly
you know
that's
what?
fair.
LA San Diego traffic is hell, Tom. You wouldn't understand.
You would have thought of, like, listen, on one hand, I give him credit. He spoke his mind. He didn't do like passive aggressive. Like he went direct at it, and I respect it. Like that's his opinion. But does he think that Toluca aren't playing not just league games, they're playing playoff games?
I don't think this has anything to do with Toluca,
Arsenal,
dude. I don't think he's thinking about Toluca even in a little bit.
What do they not play league games on the weekends?
Great. Okay, Tom, I get your frustration. But in Europe, they don't have a limit on how many players of different designations they can sign and how big their roster can be. That is a inherent difference. That is a massive difference. And we don't have to operate in a world where it doesn't. He's not talking to Toluca, dude. He's mostly talking, I think, to his group. I think he's mostly talking to his group and saying, I get it. I hear you. You're going through it. Let me find somebody outside of you to point the finger at. Let's focus focus it on that, and then let's push it.
Let me say also, because he did mention this, Ligue 1 did move games for PSG in between their Champions League legs, inside, not before. They moved the games in between. So when they faced Liverpool, who they had no business beating because it's the greatest club in the world, they didn't play on the weekend in between.
They weren't taxed on that one.
That was the case on both those games, which was one of the teams he mentioned. And then he talked about Brazil, another place that he worked. Tom, I agree with you. I think it's a lot of nothing, and I don't know, us against the world. Maybe it helps a little bit inside the locker room of like, everyone's against us. The league won't even help us, all of that. And we all remember MLS for RSL and some of the past ones.
Do we?
MLS has moved games in the past.
MLS for RSL?
Seattle?
MLS moved games this year.
Yeah. Seattle moved games in 21, right? They had games moved so that they...
Yeah. So this isn't unprecedented. I mean, it's not unprecedented,
So my
I don't
understanding
think.
of the schedule is that teams get to look at it and choose what games they want to move. Right.
Which the issue for teams is if you have internationals and you don't want international breaks off, that's where you'd put the games.
Correct.
So they'd lose a Denny Buanga or whoever else
and a
for
son.
those games.
Yeah. So if there's anyone to blame, it would be LAFC's front office for not thinking that they would make it this far in Concacaf Champions League, because they could have said, all right, you know what, we'll take the shorthanded game during an international break in order to have an extra weekend off during this monumental CCC title push.
I'm going to say that last year they did do that, no? Because I remember last year, end of the year, LAFC playing a bunch of international breaks at the end that nobody else was playing.
Maybe.
Yeah, that sounds right, Wiebe. I was going to say, I don't remember, and I'm not going to be irresponsible enough to back you up there, but like, you just brought it home.
I think just brainlessly agree. Yeah. I like that.
This is what happens, Doyle, when you end up midweek weekend. You're
listen,
my legs are gone.
I was going to say he used all the mental capacity on McSorley. So now we're coasting. It's easy sailing. My point is, I get that we're going to dive into the comments and focus on PlayStation and everything else. I just think the overall point is that we've so rarely in the past seen teams be able to balance this shit, and we have two that are doing it and have legitimate chances to go to the final. Now, are they going to go
in 48 hours?
I'm ready for somebody to karate kick me in the stomach repeatedly midweek. So my guess is it'll be 2 Liga MX teams in the final, and this will all be moved next Monday. I don't have to
make a point here. Mark Dos Santos is right that MLS doesn't really care about winning this competition, but he's wrong in that moving games around is the way that MLS shows it. The reason we know MLS doesn't care about winning this competition is because it's still only 3 DPs and whatever the salary cap is. If MLS really cared about winning this, then at the very least 3 or 4 years ago, they would have bumped it up to 5 or 6 DPs per team and an extra $3 million in salary cap. If they had done that, I honestly think the best MLS teams would be easily on par with the likes of Toluca and Tigres already. The fact that they didn't is how we know they don't actually care.
We interviewed Eduardo Saracho last week. We ran it on our First Touch feed, sort of like a state of the game in Mexico. And I actually hadn't, and this is probably my own fault, put together perfectly that the U22 initiative is one of the best things that's ever happened to Liga MX, because the players they need to buy, MLS brings them in, and MLS needs to sell
takes
them.
the risk.
And they need to sell them to gain, to make money. And Liga MX is sitting right there. And Mateusz Bogusz and pieces like that, it's a no-brainer for them. And they don't care. And he said...
Brian Rodriguez.
He used the line that I'd never thought of before, which was great, which is we can't have Mexico be the Saudi or China of the Americas, of like where the cash out and everyone just knows you can make money off us. But then he also was like, but we're the big dogs and we know we're going to come in for big money. And we know now that there is some movement of some solid players that are going to go the other way. I think DPs for sure, right? Alberto Rame and all of that. But this is a guy who bought Coco Carrasquilla, where he's like, okay, I got 3 years to watch this guy play. I know exactly what I'm going to get from him. Pedro Vite as well. Pedro Vite is the example. U22 initiative comes in. Is Vancouver going to bump him up to a big number? Probably not. So now you're in a situation where you have to sell them. The odds that you're going to get the huge number from France, maybe a little bit lower than the guy, the league he has played against 7 times.
Correct.
Or 12 times.
Brian Gutierrez would be a homegrown U22 example as well.
And that one he had a different answer on, which was the American-based Mexican players, he kind of was like, you watch guys for 6 years in an academy, it sort of gets stale, and there's like pop to the idea of like Danny Leiva's different, Brian Gutierrez is different. I think while he was U22 initiative, I think that one's a little bit different, where it's like there's always money in the banana stand.
You got to launder Cade Cowles too, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Chivas is always going to spend money, and they need to, and MLS is a godsend for Chivas to be able to contend.
The other thing, the U22 initiative, it's been a stimulus check for all these like C-tier South American prospects, right? Because the A and B tier prospects are either already playing for Boca Juniors or have already been sold to the best teams in Europe. And so the U22s that MLS is spending too much money on are guys who are unlikely to break through anyway. And if you look at it over the course of the U22 initiative, there's actually a higher hit rate on top 15 super draft picks than there is on U22 signings.
So the last thing I would say is for Liga MX, the players you just named, Liga MX normally acquires them when they're 28 or 29, which is like, okay, now you've played for Colo-Colo for a while. You are like a borderline national team starting center back. Now we'll bring you in. Where for Liga MX, they get them 5 years younger now because they get to watch them at MLS for 3 years, and they get to see what they could do. Okay, if you're listening via Sirius Radio, you're going to leave us now. We love you for being here. We've got a lot more to talk about, so make sure to search SoccerWise On Demand or anywhere you get your podcasts. Wiebe, before you go, and we're going to talk about CONCACAF a lot more, I just wanted to hit the Chucky and the designated player stuff from San Diego that you gave a scoop on coming out of
I don't know if it's a scoop. Probably. Sorry. I hit Tom, and internally my clock was like, I bet Tom has reported this, and now I just look like a clown. But yeah, I talked to Tyler Heaps and just sniffed around the club because Chucky, because you're losing, has become a big story. If San Diego is winning, I don't think anybody says anything about this. But the fact that they had lost 5 straight and then obviously could get the job done on Saturday, that's where it starts to bubble back up through the and make noise. I just don't see a path back for him into this team. They have taken a stand to where if they reverse it, their credibility as a club is just cratered, and it's not going to happen. And so then, okay, so what can happen? Well, some team has to come in and want Chucky. And my understanding, and Tom, feel free to correct me on any of this if you have any, is that there have been plenty of teams that have a very real interest in trying to acquire Chucky in some form.
Really quickly, Weebs, the onus is on, does Chucky want to leave? Chucky loves living in San Diego.
Correct.
He didn't seem to care about, hey, if you don't play, you're not going to the World Cup. This is about whether Chucky would leave or not. And he has shown no interest in that this winter. Maybe in the summer, maybe if he wants to go somewhere else, take the kids out of school. Like it was just he didn't show any interest in leaving in the winter.
He's going to get his money. This contract is going to be paid out to Chucky Lozano. So it's not a question of whether or not he's saying goodbye to any number of dollars that he has signed for. Yeah. That money is going to be his. He's going to get it. To Tom's point, it's just, does he want to leave? And there have been interested clubs in MLS, in Liga MX, outside, and he just is like, nah, I'm good. And the path back into San Diego was going to take more than just, I mean, he apologized last year, right? Like a public apology.
Yeah. Yep.
It was going to take a lot more than just words. It was going to take like very serious action and sort of commitment to what the club wants to represent in a bigger way. And he wasn't, San Diego's perspective is he's not interested in doing that. And so he's just going to chill. He's just going to hang out. And that's all well and good.
Do we know exactly what it was he did? Was it just that
it was the argument, the locker room tiff, but like it was obviously a flashpoint, but I'll put it this way. Sources have told me that it's not as if a bunch of players are clamoring for Chucky to be back in the team.
My understanding is it's a larger commitment to what they're trying to do as a group, that he's just like, nah, just do the Chucky thing.
And it's like also, if you get suspended in the playoffs, then you come back, then this happens in the offseason. It's a year. It's not like, oh, it was a flashpoint moment, right? It's a year of the way
accumulation.
You act. Yeah, the way you act
it's accumulation.
Inside the club and what you do that pushes a front office to say, hey, by the way, the most expensive player in our club's history, the keystone player we signed first, we're just like not going to play that guy.
And to be clear, it's not just front office. Like to basically push a dude like this outside, that has to be universal within your club, ownership down, that's saying that's the right thing to do.
So
that's the right. We are willing to pay that money to this guy and to not have him play for us. We think that is the right thing to do. Now, the good thing for San Diego is that they can go sign DPs this summer. I know they're in the 2-4 game, but they haven't spent all the game. They can switch it. It sounds like they want to do that. They want to go get a designated player. They want to be active. They still think that they're, quote, in their expansion build process.
Yep.
And so they can go get another DP, whether or not Chucky decides he wants to dip out or not.
Wiebe, that was the more, I think, interesting and consequential part of what you were reporting, is that previously they haven't shown, like this winter, they were not in the market to add a designated player. So if they are this summer, I think that would be a really big boost to the team. It's easy for us to say, right? Like that is a lot of money for ownership to be writing off as dead money, but sunk cost is gone, man. Like Chucky, look at him as a buyout right now, right? Like, and he could still be technically on the roster, and you just switch the money around, like. That's what it's going to come down to. But the fact that they are like, yeah, we'll be in the market for another DP. That is the more consequential of your reporting.
100%.
The Chucky thing is gone. Like it's over.
Yeah, that ship has sailed. I don't think they have to feel any pressure if they have this flexibility to go get another DP to buy him out. Like they don't have to go do that. Right. They can sort of sit on the bird's nest, so to speak, and be like, hey, somebody might come for this egg, or Chucky might change his mind. He might get bored. He might get, as your point, through the end of the school year, and he might just say, okay, like we'll move. Yeah. Or like just like Ache, who left his family in Houston because they liked it there. He could leave his family in San Diego and go, I don't know, he could go play for Xolos.
Right.
Like we're talking about drives that you could make, but that doesn't seem to be of any interest whatsoever right now. So it's a stalemate is what I would call it. Just like both sides are not going to budge, and I would be. San Diego won't, and I'd be shocked to see Chucky budge at this point.
Yeah, it feels like there's no chance Chucky ends up playing. The only situation was how bad the season goes, how much pressure they're under. They're 12th right now in the West. I don't think that's going to be in effect, but it feels like maybe the DP conversation is what's coming out of that, which is we didn't in the offseason because we didn't think we need to. And now we're acknowledging that we need to. And that's just, can we shift this money? Can we go to the other? Can we go 3-3? And then can we go out and sign the player? Which, credit to them if they do it. Like they had a great build year one. They didn't want to step away from it. They end up probably giving up an opportunity to go deeper in CONCACAF because of it. But if they want to recover the season and go spend the money, all right, at least you're acknowledging the mistake you made and the opportunity that exists.
Even with Chucky, I'm not could results be a little bit better? Maybe, but I'm also just not surprised with a second year team that doesn't have huge roster depth for a lot of different institutional reasons, not going into CONCACAF and getting punched in the face and then having trouble. I'm just, that doesn't surprise me at all. And the amount of injuries and just, self-inflicted wounds this year, doubles that down. There's a lot that they can do that's in their control that can change their fate here. My one last note on this, just watching the game. I love Anibal Godoy. Anibal Godoy is, how many times have people decided, and maybe even us included, that it's probably over for Anibal. He's probably washed.
When did he get traded from San Jose to Nashville? Was that
2020?
2020.
How many times have people try to put a shovel of dirt on this dude's grave? And then I watched this game. He is absolutely just the epicenter of everything that San Diego did for the first 50 minutes that was really, really good, without what I would argue is their most influential player on the field for the way they play in Vazquez. And his intensity and competitiveness and just I will tear the world down to try to make what I want to happen is... God, it's the soul of what every team needs, I think. It's what I imagine Tom does in men's league, except maybe without the athletic ability.
Yeah,
no offense, Tom.
Without that tactical ability too.
But God, it's so fun to watch. It's so, and I felt for San Diego because both his trickiness and trying to, I don't think he got hit in the head. But his trying to get his team a breather, that veteran moment of hey, we need a breather, we're under pressure, and then they make him go off, and he has to wait and get the concussion test, and then they score because of it. Him barking at the referee and the medical official just gave me a little bit of life. Did
you just give him a ton of credit for a moment in which he was off the field?
No. Trying to slow the game down. I get it.
I love it. This is so great. And then he was off the field when they conceded.
Okay, Doyle. That was the exact thing Doyle did to you, and now you're here. I see what's happening.
I think that it was Vazquez. You just try to yada your way to, well, they did concede when he was off the field and it was 11-10. But, you know.
So I'll just throw out there, midweek last week for a lot of teams, I think we saw the soccer that you often see when the games are loaded down. So LAFC came back from 2 down. It was one of 3 comebacks from at least 2 goals down. Minnesota came from 2 goals down at Columbus to win 3-2, set piece masters, and then Orlando's obviously 3 goals down. That's wild in one weekend, and that doesn't include the 4 stoppage time penalty kicks that we have not hit yet. 1 that got the Revs the victory, 2 in Chicago. 2 stoppage time penalty kicks in Chicago. And what? The LAFC one was the 102nd minute?
90 plus 14.
90 plus 14 that the goal was actually scored.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ryan Hollings.
Oh, my goodness. And sorry, really, we'd be remiss if we don't mention, God, poor CJ Dos Santos, man. Back in the lineup.
I almost don't want to talk about it.
Face fracture in the playoffs or the last game of the regular season, whatever it was last year. And he hasn't been starting regularly since he comes back, and he gets a knee to the forehead from Denny Bouanga. He was brave. That was where you would worry, or if you're him, I don't know if I'm sticking my face in there. He made a great save, made a great play, and just unfortunately Bouanga's other leg smashes him in the face. I hope he's all right, man.
Yeah. And it's been, one of the things just talking to their staff and trying to learn more about what he's been through, the degree of recovery from that injury is not just sort of oh, hey, you might be nervous going into a challenge. It's hey, your vision is he was suffering from double vision for a long time because of the orbital fracture. He was having trouble seeing things coming from his right to left. This isn't just, hey, how long is it going to take for you to be a top level goalkeeper again? It's hey, your vision is in a place that your life might be affected. And then for him to come back and recover from all that and be in a position to play, and then in the critical moment, throw himself at a ball in a body. I don't know. The mental strength to do it. And then I hope he does not have to tap into that in his recovery. I hope it's something it's unrelated. So shout out to him.
Okay. Well, Wiebes, I know you have IR, so you can leave us whenever you're going to leave us and go piss people off.
Yeah, I want to lie and wait for Tom to just make any sort of logic gap here, but
it won't be long. That won't be long.
I'm tagging you in. Get your mental capacity going again. All right. See you, boys.
A point I want to make from this weekend, because we were just listing how crazy stuff happens this time of year. And it's a point I made in my column as well.
Tactics Free Zone, subscribe.
Thank you. The 3-game weeks tend to add up, and we see rotated squads, and we see dead legs, and then games are won or lost or drawn on the margins, and that includes for the best teams in the league. None of the top 6 teams in the Supporter Shield race actually won this weekend. I think more than half of them actually blew leads. Christian Roldan, completely uncharacteristic back pass. It was Grand Theft Alvarado from Dejan Jovic there. And I actually thought Nashville played really well, but the miles have added up, and Sam Surridge is now hurt. Vancouver were not as sharp in the final third without Thomas Mueller. We talked a lot about LAFC. San Jose scored to go up 1-0 and then immediately ran out of gas and lost Nico Chakiris to what looked like a muscle strain. And
was Werner already out?
Play. Yeah.
Sorry, really quickly on San Jose, we all assumed they were going to rotate completely in the Open Cup. They didn't, and now Werner and Nico Chakiris is out. We have to ask that question, or at least point it out that might have been avoidable, but
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Because Bruce Arena historically has not gone after the Open Cup, but he
literally doesn't show up sometimes.
Yeah, right. Literally, back in the old Galaxy versus Railhawks days, he refused to make the flight.
His map of the U.S. just has a cutout around that jumps from South Carolina to Virginia. I don't really know.
We were all shocked when San Jose played pretty close to a first team in the Open Cup. got the win they deserved for it. But if you look at their schedule, it's been every 3 days for the past 3 weeks. I think it's 7 games in 21 days, and they don't have the type of depth that the other top teams do. So, of course, they're losing guys to injury now, and the defense looks vulnerable in a way that it didn't 2 weeks ago. These games, like, read too much into them at your peril.
Yeah.
In terms of what it means for the best version of your team. What it does tell you is the depth that you have, and I think the mental strength that your team has. And we're seeing a lot of that, in particular, I think, from Nashville. Because Nashville's ability to go out there and to control tempo and to still be dangerous. The goals have dried up, unfortunately, for them at the wrong time of year, because they're not going to go down to Mexico City and win that game, I don't think. But they
maybe
they're a really impressive team. They're a really, really impressive team. And I just wanted to, because we're not really going to touch on them because of the scoreless draw, but a lot of the stuff that they did in it was actually really, really good.
Yeah, for undefeated in their last 4 in MLS while going through CONCACAF and all of that. But I will say, this is sort of the hard part where we sit in the season. Is I have a friend who texted me who's like tangentially pays attention and is like, so the Revs are second in the East? And I'm like, well, so there's 2 contexts there. One, they're on 19 points, which would be 6th in the West. Second, they have beat up on the bad teams. But to your point, Doyle, get those results, like show that you're at least together. I think for a club that just disintegrated from the inside last year, this is a positive, which is this group is bought in. They're fairly engaged. Carlos Gil's clearly bought in and is super engaged. And
Carlos Gil, every quote that he gives is like, you don't have to read too far in between the lines to see that he maybe likes the coach a little bit better now than the coach that he had the past couple years. He's like everything is like, oh, you know, compared to the past 2 years, like we're just such a better, more well-rounded team. It's like, I see what you're saying there, Carlos.
And 19 points right now. They have 1 less game played than Inter Miami, and they're tied for 2nd place in the East. But like the goal this year was to make the playoffs for them. So all of this is positive, and the teams that are picking up points right now. I mean, we have someone in the chat who's like, can we talk about DC United being 5th in the East?
No.
Okay, can we talk about NYCFC for a second, though?
Yeah.
Because this one kind of blows my mind. Like I was over the first 5-6 weeks of the season, pretty sold. They go and they do the business in the Hudson River Derby in Open Cup, 3-1 win. So they're going to go on the road against Columbus. They would then host the semi and the final. As I've said, I don't know where that would be and what that looks like, but it's probably better than going on the road for them. And they have lost some of the worst MLS games or dropped points. So over the last 4 games, they lost 2-1 at home to Charlotte. They led by 2 goals twice against Cincinnati, a Cincinnati team struggling themselves, and didn't get the victory. They lost at Montreal, and now they lose at home to DC United. And Doyle, it's like a team that just can't set the style in a way, it feels like, where they can cruise through segments of games that are hard against them. And it's like they're either great or terrible, and there's no in between right now.
Yeah, I think that's a little overstated until this weekend. They were terrible this weekend. Like, they got their brains beat in by what I think is a pretty bad DC United team, irrespective of the standings. Through most of this run, the previous 6 games winless in league play, they had been okay. The big difference between this year's NYCFC and last year's NYCFC is Justin Hack and Alonso Martinez. And they did not replace Justin Hack adequately. Raul Gustavo is not a starting caliber center back in this league. And I frankly don't think Kai Truan is either, or at least not a high level one. And that's one, struggles in one box, and then in the other box, you lost your best goal scorer and you didn't replace him. And there are times where Nico Fernandez Mercado can be really awesome as a false 9, but there are so many things there, like playing with a false 9 complicates the game in a lot of ways. And if you're really, really dangerous on the wings, and you have the types of central midfielders deeper lying who are adept at making those sort of late box arriving runs, then the way the false nine complicates the game can actually be beneficial to you. If you don't have those things, the way it complicates the game simply allows the opponent to get into a deep block behind you, and then you're left ripping 25-yard shot, 0.02 XG shots and just hoping for deflection. And it feels like that is where NYCFC have gotten to in attack the past couple of games. And this is why I was banging the drum for Seymour. Well, first of all, this is why we all thought they needed to sign a DP center forward this offseason. Including them. And we still don't know exactly what happened, but I guess it was a failed medical.
Okay. We know it's a failed medical.
Okay, so failed medical. We don't know why there was not a backup plan. We don't know why there was no plan. Go ahead.
Keep talking. I have a name that they bid for that they didn't sign.
But then this is also why I felt it was worth it and have been banging the drum for them to play Seymour Reed from the start. Pascal Janssen to play Seymour Reed from the start, because he's a young number 9 and he's going to be inconsistent and he's going to make mistakes, but it's worth getting him out there to get reps, to play through those mistakes now and to learn from them, so that come this point of the year, you have the type of number 9 who can actually drag an opposing back line around, not let them sit deep and comfortable in a block, and actually create space underneath for the likes of Nico Fernandez, Mercado, and Hannes Wolff. And they're just not, they missed so many opportunities to give him run, to work through the tough moments. And they're kind of, I think, paying the price for it now with this terrible run in which they've been so bad in both boxes.
The forward for Basel, a similar profile to Musa Sila in the sense that he can play center forward, but also when Alonso Martinez comes back, he could play on the wing. His name is Benny Traore. He's got, I think, 9 goals and 3 assists in the league this year. What I was told is there was a bid rejected. It was too late anyway, and that, more likely to see him move to another club in Europe this summer now.
Someone in the chat says, Doyle, would you say you'd like to see more Reed? So I thought that was pretty good. Here's the other worrying sign.
Did you think that was pretty good?
Here's the other worrying sign for NYCFC. Next Sunday, they'll play Columbus at home. At that point, they'll have played 8 home games to 5 road games. They then are on the road for the 4 games going into the World Cup break, and then they start on the road to come out. So similar to TFC, it's like not all the results here are terrible, but you were supposed to be stacking points.
Yep.
Like this is where you were supposed to build towards the second half, which was why it made sense to get the DP done and deal and not wait for the summer. And that all blew up in their face. So they will finish the World Cup first half of the season with Charlotte on the road, Red Bulls at Columbus, at Nashville. And this is for a club that I thought looked like they could be on the way to being one of the better ones in the Eastern Conference. Okay. Before we move into CONCACAF fully, let's talk a little bit about the Vancouver Whitecaps. We talked last week on the show about Save the Caps, the movement from the fan base. I think you saw across the league the support from fan bases all over, of course, from Columbus, who have, unfortunately, the experience of having saved a team. But then you sort of see the engagement from all the fan bases of trying to push things. And then, Tom, we got a little bit of breaking news from you and Paul after I recorded with Michele on Thursday. So walk us through where we stand right now.
Yeah, Paul reported, now this information is all public. The bid is officially in from a Kentucky-based family, billionaires, that would buy the Whitecaps and move them to Las Vegas. The name of the bidder is Grant Gustafson. He's the grandson of the founder of the company Public Storage. His mother's net worth is listed at $8.5 billion. So there's a lot of money here. There would be a stadium plan in Las Vegas. This guy, Grant Gustafson, is 30 years old. He lives in Las Vegas. He's been heavily involved in USC's NIL situation for the past few years from what Paul has reported. So now that bid is officially on the table, and Paul and I this time last week were reporting that there was deep discussions with a group that was going to move the team, that the proposal would be to move the team to Las Vegas. A few days later, that a bid officially came in. Vancouver's mayor said, quote, "We are calling on the Vancouver Whitecaps ownership to publicly and clearly articulate what they need to stay here in Vancouver, and we are calling on the provincial government to come to the table and make that a reality." There have been meetings between Major League Soccer leadership, Don Garber, and the higher-ups with Vancouver politicians. Garber and crew were in Vancouver for the FIFA Congress. A little levity is that the Gianni Infantino requested
a papal motorcade. He requested a papal motorcade.
Like, slightly below the Pope is what he was asking for. Vancouver laughed at him, so shout out to the Vancouver politicians.
To be clear, from the report, apparently he was not a part of that. That was the security apparatus.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
His account was hacked too, I'm sure.
You calling him a liar, pants on fire right now?
So anyway, this has come at an interesting time where all the parties were around. I'll reiterate what I've been reporting and hitting on all week is that Vancouver politicians are saying all of this and saying that they want to keep the team, particularly now that all of this is public and the threat has been real for 12 months, but is particularly dire right now. They are doing this while publicly courting Major League Baseball. There is not a Major League Baseball stadium in this city. So I know that MLS and the higher ups there are not thrilled with that dichotomy of you say you're doing everything you can to keep this team here, but we haven't made a breakthrough in a potential stadium deal. But you're courting Major League Baseball, who would also need a stadium. So on one hand, the first and foremost, like we all share the same sentiment. Hashtag save the Caps. Be a tragedy if this team leaves. We can talk about corporate greed, money, whatever it is about this team shouldn't move, right? The Vancouver politicians are kind of doing the same thing. It's like, ooh, Major League Baseball is a little bit shinier and a little bit better than Major League Soccer. Maybe we should do that instead.
It also
I don't know,
makes money and is 81 events a year.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but like
MLS can try and like big dog whatever they want, but it's a league that doesn't make money.
Guys, my point is that like, okay, so then the Major League Soccer owners are saying, well, Vegas would be a better business opportunity for us, which the three of us all disagree with. This team should say, but the Vancouver politicians are kind of doing the like, well, Major League Baseball would be better financially for us. It comes down to like what a lot of things in 2026. Everybody sucks.
Tom hits it on the head, and we've talked about it a lot. I think from an obvious point of view with Vancouver, the history they have and the success they've had now over the last few years, the ability to fill the building, one of them, right? Like getting 20,000 plus fans a game. It is not saying, oh, there's 9 people in the stadium. Like, people care about the team. People are engaged with it. We saw some protests over the week with the FIFA Congress involved in all of that. And I think the fingers crossed hope would be, okay, if this guy wants to spend whatever hundreds of millions, then build an expansion team in Major League Soccer and just add another team. Like there isn't really a limit to the amount of good soccer players on the planet. I say this over and over again.
Want more teams.
But like, who cares? If you want to spend the money, then go out and sign 3 DPs from outside the league and 3 U22 initiatives and trade for players and
there's too many teams already
and build an academy. Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
That's my point.
Trying to keep up on the weekends, I don't disagree with you. But if that's what this person wants, it is also very Major League Soccer of trying to get to Vegas about 12 and a half years after they probably should have been in the market, and a guarantee that there will be almost no local buy-in to this because they're going to move a team in their history and steal it from one place and pop in as the 5th pro sports team in the market, a market that already has a USL team and everything else involved. So really looking forward to them being black and gold and trying to copy everything.
The other point I want to make here is for, you raise a good point about baseball being 81 games and actually making money. And there's data to back this up now that, I hate to say it, but public investment in baseball stadiums actually ends up being a pretty good deal for municipalities because of what it does for local businesses around the ballpark and what it does for tourism and for bringing in the bridge and tunnel crowd, like the three of us, Long Island, New Jersey, Westchester. But
bro, I'm in the heart of it, baby. I'm in Brickell.
But a soccer stadium, like get an NWSL team as well. Between MLS and NWSL and national team stuff, you can get 40 dates. And then if you get 15 to 20 concerts in there as well, we're talking about 55 to 60 dates a year. And that adds up. And that suddenly looks like a good bet for everyone involved. And I'm just hoping that between the grandstanding from the politicians and current ownership and the Vegas fail sons and everyone involved, I just hope that there's someone who's able to say, like, let's look at what the actual opportunity is here, because soccer has a real culture in Vancouver. Vancouver is a world city. The fan base is real for both men's and women's soccer there. It can and will work if everybody just buys in and takes a seat at the table instead of doing the stupid meme from The Office where they're all pointing guns at each other.
And it would be the NSL team, which is already there, which is already playing at BC Place, which is not a great stadium for that to be in. So yeah, that it already fully exists. I do think it's interesting that there's a reality where if this happens, you know, I have people messaging me about Montreal, as you guys do, for years now, of like, the CPL already has 3 teams in the Vancouver area. Like, what does it end up looking like from an MLS point of view in Canada? And like, does it fall down to just being TFC? And I say that in saying with the NWSL side of things, I don't think there's an appetite to bring NWSL to Canada. I think the idea for Canada is let's have our own internal league that we try and build up as high as possible, support Canadian players, and then we can push them into national teams or potentially overseas, which is the CPL's idea. They were doing so with 3 MLS teams sort of above them, which was an interesting dynamic. But as those teams potentially leave, like what it looks like, I think could be really, really different going forward, which would be super unfortunate because I think the 2 entities, I think MLS has helped soccer grow in Canada, and I know Canada has helped MLS grow with the atmospheres and experiences that you've had in Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. Okay, let's move on to a little Concacaf Champions before we get out of here. We touched on it already with LAFC heading down to Toluca and Nashville playing in Monterrey. So let's start with that game. Tuesday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. A 1-0 lead for Tigres coming into the game. Tigres won on the weekend 3-1, coming from behind against Chivas in the first leg of the Liguilla. So they will play the second leg on Saturday night in Guadalajara. This will come up more when we talk about Toluca. Chivas missing 5 starters because of the Mexican national team calling in 12 players who have already started camp, so didn't play on the weekend. So I don't say in that like Tigres doesn't have to worry about it, but they're up 3-1 against the wounded team.
Well, first of all, I said Nashville in Mexico City earlier in this podcast. I meant obviously Monterrey. Explain the situation with the Mexico national team early call-ins, Dave, because I'm not sure everybody knows that.
Yeah, we'll get into it with Toluca as well because they're losing 2 players, but all the Liga MX clubs agreed with FMF to start a early World Cup camp on May 6th, which apparently the players then were considered off once they got called up last week, and 12 Liga MX players have been called up, so they will be in training camp under Javier Aguirre for a month before any of the players who finish their European seasons will come over and join them, which will be the other 14 that are a part of it. And this was something Eduardo Saracho came and joined us. He was technical director of Pumas last year, and he said Javier Aguirre came to every single club and talked about it. And all the clubs agreed, like, this is something that we will do, even if it hurts us in the playoff run, to help the national team sort of take advantage of this home World Cup. So that means the best players, because it's the national team for a lot of these clubs. For Chivas especially, because they only play Mexican players, it hurts. But my thing, and I said this to Michele last week, you don't get to cry about this. You've built your entire identity on being the Mexican club. You better help the Mexican national team. But it still hurts losing all your players for the playoffs. And then for Toluca, it means losing all of them for this CONCACAF Champions League. So they will lose Alexis Vega, who's one of the 2 best players on this team, and Jesus Gallardo, who's the captain of this team and will probably be a starting player for the Mexican national team at the World Cup. So huge hits. It's shifted a lot. It helps a club like Tigres that just doesn't play Mexican players and goes out and signs everyone from overseas. So they got the 3-1 win on the weekend. Obviously, Nashville, the 0-0 draw at Philly, heavily rotated. My assumption is we're not going to see Sam Surge. If we do, it probably won't be from the start. And this is an experience, Joel, that we haven't really seen before. Like, Nashville has to go down and Nashville has to go down and win this game at Tigres, and very few MLS teams have ever done that.
Yeah, have Tigres ever lost a home game in CONCACAF to a non?
May have beaten them when they got through. I don't remember if it was a winner.
Didn't Cincy do it last year? Didn't Cincy do that last year?
Well, either way, it does not happen often, and El Volcan
Your point remains.
is notorious for, and we think about altitude for these Mexican teams, and that's what makes it so hard to play there. But that's not the case in Monterrey. Monterrey is about 1,800 feet, so it doesn't take your wind in the way that playing at Mexico City or even Denver does. But it's a different type of atmosphere. Talk to anybody who's played there, and there's a reason Tigres wins a lot, and it's because they defend that home turf. And Nashville, with or without Sam Surridge, and to be clear, I think it's going to be without. I have heard that it is a longer term injury. I think it's going to be. I'm expecting it to be too steep a hill for them to climb.
For Nashville, I think the one hope is if they can link some possession, because while Tigres is dominant, they don't really care about the ball that much. Then can you create enough opportunities because you have enough final third entries and your whatever set piece you get is around the goal? I think that's the hope for this Nashville team, where it's the opposite for LAFC, which we'll talk about in a moment, right? But for Nashville, that's bravery stuff, where it's like you got to go into this building, and most likely Tigres will move on in Liga. But as we've talked about over and over, like right now, this is the last game Andre Pierre-Gignac will ever play at El Volcan. Probably won't be, but right now it is. And the building's going to be buzzing, and it's a chance to win a trophy, and they know how important it is, and they know how big it is, and that is going to take some gigantic luck, bravery from this team. I was going to say
Huevos?
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to go that, and then I was like, I don't have to.
Don't worry, we did it for you.
Yeah, for this group. And I think that's the question is, like, can Nashville do that? And they did some of it at America. I've talked about, to me, the gap between these two teams, even though they're only one place in the standings, of like right now in big games, the difference between them. And for against Tigres, it's going to be so much harder. And LAFC, Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. So same time, both nights. 2-1 lead going down to Toluca. Toluca lost 1-0 to Pachuca. This was the quote from Antonio Mohamed after putting out a rotated squad on top of not having Gallardo and Vega. He said, quote, "We were always very clear and said that we have a primary goal, which is CONCACAF. We played 9 matches of the tournament with a backup team, that tournament being in the Clausura. The message was very clear. The focus is CONCACAF champions." So this is a club that won back-to-back Liguillas, and they care more about this game than they do the playoff games that surround it. Paulinho came off the bench. Helino's already suspended. So a fully rotated group almost for them. Didn't even sub everyone in. No Vega, no Gallardo is a factor, but like LAFC, even with Denny Bouanga back from the suspension, they're going to be up against it.
Yeah, and it says something about the level financially that these teams are competing at, with the fact that they can play their backups for 9 games of the Liga and finish top 3 in the standings and be pretty comfortably into the playoffs where they are. Now, they did get pretty thoroughly outplayed, it looks like, by Pachuca at the weekend. I didn't watch that game. I read a little bit about it. Pachuca were, by all accounts, the better team, but that's not the team that LAFC is going to face this week. LAFC is going to face the first teamers, and Toluca's first team, like David said, just won back-to-back Liguillas. They're bicampeons, and this is now their priority, and I think they are just massive, overwhelming favorites.
I don't know. Like it's they are absolutely favorites. This is going to be a really steep hill for LAFC, but LAFC going in with a lead, and particularly if they can match that away goal, like I don't know. I just have a lot of respect for this LAFC team and the difference makers they're in.
And they're set up for it. That's why we keep coming back to why they have a shot here, because they don't have to change their game states and figure out how to play like a San Diego going to Toluca.
So can I push back on that?
Sure.
The 2 teams, or really the 3 teams recently, and then the other team that we all think of, or teams we all think of in terms of making a mark for MLS in this tournament, go back to 2011 RSL, ball dominant possession team. 2018 Toronto FC. They were a pretty ball dominant team, even when they were playing on the road at Club America, at Tigres. And then the past few years, Seattle were not at that level in terms of having the ball, but they were certainly more than not playing with the ball and not necessarily playing on the counter, everything running through Ladero at that point in time. And then the past couple of years, Columbus and Vancouver getting to the finals by using the ball and not playing on the counterattack. And when you say the game states, the LAFC is ready for it, I think what you mean is that LAFC are a counterattacking team, and that doesn't hold up to historical scrutiny. Counterattacking teams get their asses kicked. So you need to go out there and meet them in midfield and try to take the ball from them.
So I don't disagree with anything you said, except LAFC have put counterattacking elite talent into a team, and they play this way all the time. So it is not a team going and changing the way they play to fit this. And what you described there is fully true. We're all elite ball dominant teams. It's the quality of the team to me over the style of play. That is what allowed them to get through these series. And that's where LAFC, they are already built to do this. So go and just do what you do at a high level. And a lot of these other teams, it's like, okay, we're going to play Lucas Zelarayan as a false nine. We're going to hope he hits on the counter. Like, that's not what this is. This is Denny Bouanga and Son and David Martinez playing the exact way they play every single week. Can they just do it against the toughest opponent? They will the whole season.
Yeah, for me, it was team specific as well. Like, rather than it is a good point and something to remember with the teams that have been successful. But I think this is how LAFC play. And this is, like, for all the criticisms we've made of maybe them not being as adventurous, like, they're going into this game with their fastball. And if Toluca hit their spot, nobody on this continent can beat them, and nobody on this continent can get a hit. But LAFC has their own kind of stuff, and it won't be alteration. It'll be, all right, like, can Denny Bouanga have a big moment? Can Son Heung-min have a big moment? Like, Hugo Lloris has been awesome this season, and I think that is all very important too.
Do we think Eusakio starts?
I wouldn't on the road.
Yeah.
Just if you don't know how many minutes you have in him and, like, how much he can cover ground.
But isn't the question, isn't it better to start him and be like, well, we're only going to get 45, so we might
rather than end
do
up
the
in
first
extra
40.
time and have to sub him
Exactly.
back. Yeah, I think that's fair. I will set the stage with this one. I've talked about it a couple of times. The standings are out there for hosting the final. There's no world in which Nashville can host the final anymore. For LAFC, they need to win to host the final at this point. So
win and hope Nashville wins, right?
No, if they win, they would automatically host because Tigres can't catch them.
Oh.
If they win. If they tie and Tigres win, most likely Tigres will have the goal differential or goals for over them to take it. So LAFC control their own destiny. It's just doing no one's like ever done before is the opportunity to control your own destiny. And my assumption is their bigger worry would be to get through. Okay, let's close out real quick as we do every Monday, just talking a little bit national team from the weekend. Some big performances in terms of minutes played over in Europe. Serginho Dest, first appearance since March 6th. Came off the bench for PSV against Ajax. 2 games left in the Eredivisie for him to show himself. And then Ricardo Pepi, goal in the first minute of the game with the start in that same game. But, we have talked kind of with an assumption that Dest would be back, but also pretty big to see it sort of come to fruition on that side of things. Tyler Adams, his first start since coming back. So, yeah, his first start since the return, 70 minutes and a 3-0 win over Crystal Palace. And Chris Richards forced on as a sub late because he has Europa Conference League semifinal this week.
Did you see the quote from Oliver Glasner? He was kind of like, this is like when you have your friend's birthday party this weekend and your wedding next weekend. I'm sorry, we're just more excited for our wedding.
Pretty well said. Don't mind that.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Do we think...
I didn't think that. I thought like I forget if he's Austrian or German, but that is something that I would expect to come from like just a beautiful, fun analogy from like not one of those languages rather than like Spanish.
Speaking of Central Europe, Rene Weiler must watch on the on the pressers right now, just trashing dudes.
Yeah.
Directly, almost unasked sometimes.
Yeah,
where he's like, "Hey, has anyone asked me yet?"
Pirani.
Yeah, has anyone asked me about Gabriel Pirani yet? No? Okay, well, he's not going to play because he plays for himself and not for the team. Whoa, dude. Do we think Shakhtar could hang in Concacaf Champions League? Do you think you're right?
No, I don't think they could go to Toluca. Absolutely not.
Exactly. I don't even know if they could go to Colorado on a Wednesday night and get it done. Jedi first start since April 11th for him. It was a 3-0 loss to Arsenal, but good to see him get the start. So him and Tyler both back into full starting lineup. Serginho Dest back, and then Alex Freeman back-to-back starts for Villarreal, which feels huge, whatever the formation ends up being, because center back is a little bit thin right now. Tim Ream set back midweek. Dino says he should be back now for the Cincinnati game. They said he'd be back this weekend, so over 4 weeks now without playing. And Miles Robinson, we know, has been in and out of the lineup as well. So whether Freeman is right wing back or right center back right now, Doyle, it's a little bit of a thin category for the U.S.
It's a very thin category to the point where I think it makes Alex Freeman the right center back, and that's kind of a worry given that he hasn't logged a lot of minutes there over the course of his career, but it's just where we are as a national team pool, unfortunately.
Mark McKenzie, full start on the weekend, so he would be one of the other big options. Austin Trusty, gunning for a Scottish Premier League championship right now, getting some other big minutes for him as well. Congrats, Aiden Morris, qualified for the playoffs, plays 90 minutes every single week. So Middlesbrough will go up against Southampton, and Balogun, another goal for him. So he's 3 goals off his career high for a season, and Pepe gets the goal on the weekend. So ideal scenario, at least on that side of the field, because Christian Pulisic, 17 straight games without a goal.
He only played 15 minutes off the bench. The reports I saw, I didn't watch the game, but the reports I saw out of Italy were not kind to Pulisic at all. On the flip side, Gio Reyna played 20 minutes for the first time in months. Actually got off the bench for the final 20 minutes against Borussia Dortmund, his former team.
In a victory.
In a 1-0. Not the guy I would bring off the bench to see out a 1-0, but
Joe Scally got the start at left back in that game, filling in. So another option there with some versatility. I will say I also didn't watch the Milan game.
This is all pretty depressing, man.
I didn't watch the Milan game either, but Massimo Allegri said that's the worst game we've played all year.
And they played some bad ones, man. That is a stacked category.
So Christian Pulisic in good company when it comes to the Milan situation. Okay, we will be back on Thursday. We'll talk more national team. Me and Doyle will dive a little bit deeper. Obviously, we'll have all your reaction coming out of CONCACAF. We'll get you ready for the weekend in MLS action.
I like
as
that
well.
the Timbers are so bad that we don't even mention that Diego Luna played maybe his best game as a pro. It doesn't even count.
I had it in the rundown. It was the 7 minutes on Brendan McSorley that kind of pushed it down the list.
Yeah.
I thought it was the 9 minutes on the Florida Panthers and the Brown Bears of Hokkaido, Japan.
I wouldn't cut that. I wouldn't cut that for anything. The only guys, while we're talking about programming and notes and stuff, should we be worried that we're gonna, if we ever have to counter program against Twitch superstar Jaylen Brown? We got to worry about that.
Championship mentality. Never log off. And never log off.
Is there enough of a market share of people listening that I don't know, man.
We need
to go to Cancun because he's out of the playoffs.
Coming second place to a finals MVP. So.
I mean, I think we know noted MLS owner Joel Embiid is sitting at home eating cookies watching Jaylen Brown's Twitch streams rather than our show. So we're already in a tough spot with that market share.
Cat's going to put him in another literal headlock.
Ooh. Get stuffed, Joel in Philadelphia.
To all our listeners, pray for me in the group chat because it is a nightmare for these two guys.
Don't play a victim mentality. You would, if this was reversed, you wouldn't have shut up.
I am magnanimous in victory. I was in 2024 when I watched my beloved Boston Celtics win their 18th title.
Not at all.
I don't know how you guys felt the last time you saw your Knicks win a title. What was that like in person for the two of you?
Man, if the Knicks seal it this year, Doyle is never going to be able to come
and
on
like, and he knows in his heart of hearts, one Knicks title is going to be the equivalent of 15 Celtics titles.
It's over. It doesn't even matter. I would like to say that I didn't bring up the Atlanta Hawks a single time this year until our coworker came out of his way to tell me Knicks fans were scared, which is confusing because I had, one, never heard of them, and two, the Knicks proceeded to win by 61 points in a closeout playoff game. So all the people who don't like the NBA talk, we kept it towards the end here for you, which I think is pretty nice of us. We appreciate all of you for being here. Shout out to everyone in the chat hanging out with us. Always fun. Shout out to Wiebe for popping in and popping out as he does, and the two of you for hanging out with me and talking all things soccer. So we will be back with the NWSL show on Tuesday. Myself and Jordan coming off a big weekend of results. And then we, of course, are back on Thursday with our second MLS show. And then we'll talk to you again soon.